My name is Catherine, and I'm 52. Today, I'm at a busy shopping district. As I gaze at a white dress displayed in a store window, someone calls out to me from behind.
Catherine!
I turn around to see my ex-husband, Bob, whom I divorced 20 years ago, standing there with my own sister, Sarah.
It really is you, Catherine. Long time no see.
Long time no see. I lift the corner of my lips in a slight greeting. Sarah had an affair with Bob and took him away from me. It seems they've forgotten all about that, casually greeting me like old friends.
Were you looking at that dress?
Yes, I thought it was lovely.
What's the point of buying something like that? Where would you even wear it? You're still single, right?
What?
You know, she's walking around alone on a weekend afternoon, so she must be single.
Exactly. Maybe she's planning to wear it on a date with her imaginary husband.
They chuckled to themselves while looking at me. They probably see me as some poor, lonely single woman. But nowadays, marriage isn't the only way to find happiness. I actually feel a bit sorry for them, stuck with such outdated thinking. Then Sarah went even further with her rude questions.
Are you still struggling with infertility?
My face froze, and they didn't miss it.
So you're still dealing with it, right?
Not that it matters. She's single now, so who's there to worry about?
True.
The fact that they casually brought up such a delicate issue like infertility shows that, even after 20 years and reaching their 50s, they haven't changed a bit. It's true that I never had children with Bob. When we were married, I'd suggested something to him.
Hey, Bob, could you get tested too?
Tested? For what?
For infertility. I've already done mine, but you haven't yet.
No way, that's embarrassing. Infertility is obviously a woman's problem.
That's an outdated belief. Nowadays, people know that infertility can also be caused by men.
But Bob kept finding excuses not to get tested. While I avoided alcohol, watched my diet, and did everything I could, he just indulged in his cigarettes, booze, and greasy foods without a care. It stressed me out to feel like I was the only one putting in the effort. And yet he still wanted kids, something I found deeply frustrating at the time. Eventually, we stopped having conversations altogether, and before I knew it, Bob and Sarah were having an affair.
I am pregnant with Bob's child.
When Sarah said that to me, my mind went completely blank.
See, I told you I wasn't the reason we couldn't have kids.
I'll never forget the look on Bob's face at that moment. It was a smug, condescending look, as if he'd finally proven his point.
Here, this is the divorce paperwork. I've already signed my part, so go ahead and sign yours. Once you're done, pack up and get out.
From today, I'll be the one living here.
After our divorce, Sarah was disowned by our family. We haven't seen each other since, so running into her so suddenly threw me off guard. It's been 20 years since then. I wonder if their kid is all grown up by now. As I pondered, Bob and Sarah started bragging about the wonderful family life they'd built.
After our divorce, I got promoted at work. It's more responsibility, But with the higher salary, I can provide well for my family.
Yeah, it was right after he left you. Seems like you were bad luck, you know?
Sarah laughed, half jokingly.
Hey kid, a great job and every weekend spent together as a family. It's a happy life. Our son's in college now, so we don't see him as much, but we still get together for family dinners sometimes.
Your son's in college.
Yeah, and not just any college. He's at Yale.
Wow, that's a tough school to get into.
Yeah, the tuition is steep, but he's our pride and joy. Bob's worked hard to cover it, and we've managed just fine.
He must be really smart. You were always a top student yourself, Sarah.
He's not just smart. My son's a brilliant, handsome genius.
A brilliant, handsome genius.
Yeah, he started speaking early and could do math before he even started school.
He always aced his tests in elementary school and was such a good athlete that he was on the relay team every year.
Wow, that's impressive.
Want to see a photo?
Without waiting for me to ask, Bob pulled his phone out of his pocket and showed me a picture of his son.
Look at him. Handsome, like a model, isn't he?
He really is handsome. I bet he's popular with the girls.
Absolutely. He gets love letters by the dozen.
Bob and Sarah looked absolutely delighted, radiating pride as they boasted about their son. However, when I looked at the photo of their son, I felt a strange sense of unease. He doesn't look much like you, Bob.
What?
The son in the photo had a sharp, defined face and looked tall. Sarah also had distinct features and a well-defined nose, so I could see some resemblance to her. But I couldn't find any similarity with Bob at all.
What do you mean he doesn't look like me? He's a spitting image.
Isn't he giving himself a little too much credit? Bob seemed annoyed, clearly not pleased with my remark.
He does look like me, doesn't he?
Bob asked Sarah for confirmation.
Yo, maybe around the dip of the nose, right?
Sarah answered brightly, but I noticed a slight flicker in her gaze.
See, she says he looks like me. Just because you don't have kids doesn't mean you have to nitpick.
Seriously, the bitterness from single people is scary, you know? Kind of aggressive.
Yeah, she's probably tense, knowing she'll be alone in her old age.
I'm not tense at all. I just thought he didn't look like you.
Catherine, enough already.
Sarah glared at me, clearly uncomfortable with the topic. I'm sorry, that was rude of me.
Watch yourself, single and with a bad attitude. There's no helping that.
We're only trying to give you some advice, so be grateful, okay?
Yes, thank you. I smiled politely. At that moment, a voice called out from behind me.
Mom, sorry for keeping you waiting.
My daughter approached, wearing a navy blue dress, walking briskly toward us. You took a while.
The line at the restroom was long. Who are these people?
They are some old acquaintances of mine. Oh, let me introduce you. This is my daughter, Emma. She just turned 20 this year.
What?
Nice to meet you. I'm Emma.
She said, greeting them politely. Her greeting was flawless and perfectly respectful.
Nice to meet you.
Hello.
They both blinked in surprise. Since Sarah was disowned by our family, Emma doesn't even know I have a sister. Of course, she also has no idea that my ex-husband Bob and Sarah had an affair. I have no intention of telling her, either. Emma, go grab a coffee nearby and wait for me. I'll join you in a bit.
Okay, excuse me then.
After Emma politely said goodbye and walked away, the two of them approached me.
What's going on here?
A daughter. Catherine, I thought you were single.
I just had lunch with Emma at that restaurant over there.
That's not what I'm asking.
They kept getting closer. I held up my hand to stop them. First off, I got remarried and had kids.
Why didn't you say anything earlier?
Well, you assumed I was single from the start, and I figured we'd never see each other again, so I didn't feel the need to correct you. Sarah's face twisted in discomfort.
So, how did you meet your husband? And Emma's 20. She's almost the same age as our son. Isn't that timeline a bit off?
Wait, Catherine, you didn't have an affair, did you?
Don't compare me to you two. I met him after we divorced.
So, where did you meet him?
They seemed overly curious about my new husband, pressing me for details, so I explained. After divorcing Bob, I was so frustrated and angry that I started going to the gym to blow off steam.
The gym.
Sarah looked blank, unsure where this was going. After a while, a guy approached me. We started chatting. He'd listened to my troubles, and eventually, we went out to eat together. They quietly listened to the story of how my husband and I met. Eventually, he asked to be in a relationship with him, with marriage in mind. I was surprised but happy, so I agreed. 6 months later, we got married. Soon after the wedding, I found out I was pregnant, and here we are.
So, you weren't infertile after all.
That's your first reaction.
Why couldn't we have kids?
Bob crossed his arms, and Sarah flinched slightly beside him. By the way, I have another child, a boy in middle school.
What?
A second one?
They exclaimed in surprise, louder than anything else they'd said all day. My son went out with my husband. He wanted to take pictures of a train. He's a bit of a train enthusiast. Neither Emma nor I have any interest in trains, so we're doing our own thing today. Bob's eyes widened, as if he were looking at a rare creature.
You got remarried and had 2 kids after being infertile. No way, that's impossible.
Could you stop going on and on about infertility? It's actually a sensitive topic.
Why? You were infertile.
This isn't working. He's completely missing the point. Is he really that shocked I have kids? I watched Bob in his state of confusion, sighing as I did. But as he kept pestering me with why over and over, I finally voiced what I'd fought for the past 20 years. Maybe the infertility issue was on your end.
What?
At last, Bob reacted. His expression looked as if he was offended by what I had said.
Me, the reason for infertility? No way. If I were the problem, Sarah and I wouldn't have had a child. Right?
Well, yes, that's true.
Sarah, caught off guard, stumbled over her response. Then why do you only have one child together? My question made them both fall silent.
I want more than one child. I was an only child and always felt envious of friends with siblings.
That was something Bob often mentioned when we were together. There was no way someone like him would settle for just one child. If he was confident there was no issue on his side, he would have tried for a second or third.
Well,
It seemed I had struck a nerve, and Bob faltered.
of course I wanted a second one, but it just didn't happen. You know, kids are a blessing, right? And besides, I'm happy enough with just our son.
He tried to act strong, but his expression betrayed the discomfort I'd caused by hitting so close to home. Then Sarah stepped between us, frowning, and said,
Look, stop making mean comments to get back at me for taking your husband.
"Get back at you, being mean."
Well, yeah, talking about pregnancy like that, asking such personal questions about something so sensitive.
Are you too seriously saying this? The irony was too much, and I couldn't help but laugh.
What's so funny?
But you both kept asking me if I was still struggling with infertility, or saying, "Are you still dealing with infertility?" And you were infertile. Sarah's face flushed red, and she started to tremble. I couldn't help but laugh. You two have no room to talk. Sorry about that. And no, I wasn't trying to get back at you or be mean. I was simply asking something I was curious about.
Just because you got remarried doesn't mean you should act all high and mighty. Come on, let's go.
Sarah grabbed Bob's arm, trying to leave. Sarah seemed eager to leave, as if discussing children any further might reveal something she didn't want to share. Oh no, I'm not letting you get away that easily. I felt as though fate was giving me the perfect chance to address the humiliation of 20 years ago. As Sarah pulled Bob along with great force, I called out, "So, are you still seeing that model-looking guy?" Sarah froze in her tracks. She turned around, her face pale.
What are you talking about?
Bob, the only one oblivious, looked confused.
Oh, nothing. Let's go.
When you got together with Bob, you were still seeing another guy, weren't you?
What?
Don't start lying now.
Sarah marched up to me, looking livid. It's not a lie. I had a professional investigator look into it. Back when I was going through the divorce, I had hired someone to investigate Sarah and Bob. I always thought the infertility issue was with Bob, but then Sarah got pregnant, and I felt something was off.
Something was off.
Yes, I started to wonder if Bob was really the father of Sarah's baby.
What?
Sarah's breathing grew heavy, her shoulders rising and falling. She was trying to keep calm, but her anxiety was clear. There was nothing on Bob's end, but Sarah was caught. I got clear photos of her going into a hotel with a man who looked like a model.
No, it can't be.
Sarah, is this true? Tell me Catherine is lying. I'm the father, right?
Bob grabbed Sarah's shoulders, desperately seeking confirmation. Sarah said nothing. When I saw your son's photo earlier, I couldn't help but wonder. He looked just like the man in the investigator's photos. I remembered Sarah's affair partner well because he had a very striking face. Sarah shook off Bob's hands and looked straight at me. It would make more sense if that man were your son's father.
Catherine.
Sarah's hand reached toward my throat. I dodged and stepped back. Not here, in such a crowded place.
What's going through your mind?
Nothing.
Don't speak in baseless assumptions.
You're right. It's just a guess about your son, but Bob, it's a fact that Sarah was seeing another man besides you. That should be enough. His heart will now be full of distrust toward her, and it will eat away at him slowly. Sarah seemed uneasy at Bob's silence, nervously fidgeting with her right hand touching her left repeatedly.
Were you cheating?
It's amusing to see someone who once cheated now doubting someone else's faithfulness.
I wasn't.
Sarah replied, trying to hide her agitation. I still have those old photos as proof. Would you like to see them sometime?
Really? Yes, please.
Catherine.
So it's true, isn't it? Just as Catherine said, you were cheating.
If there really were photos of me with another man, it must have just been a stranger who happened to be walking close by.
A stranger, right? Does Sarah often walk arm in arm with strangers?
What?
In those photos, you and that man were arm in arm.
Sarah,
No, that's not true.
then maybe our son isn't even mine.
Of course he's yours. Just look at him. He looks just like you.
Sarah frantically pulled out her phone, showing Bob a picture. But the look on his face had changed from the proud smile he wore earlier when he showed me his son's photo. Now he looked skeptical.
Now that you mention it, I don't think any of my friends have ever told me he looks like me.
That's
They've told me he looks like you a few times, but I've never heard anyone say he looks like me.
Bob's face was darkening with suspicion.
They just didn't say it outright. It's not like they think he doesn't look like you.
Sarah's desperate attempts to reassure him seemed to have little effect, and Bob continued to eye her with doubt. Then, Sarah's anger turned toward me. She was likely frustrated by his unchanging reaction, no matter how much she tried to reassure him. Sarah began desperately trying to change the subject.
By the way, I still haven't seen your family, Catherine. I met him earlier, but I'd love to see your son and husband too.
Sure, here's a photo from my birthday dinner with my family. With a strangely forced smile, Sarah looked at the recent photo I showed her.
Let's see. Wait, this is your husband.
Yes, he works out, so he's pretty muscular, isn't he?
This girl is Emma from earlier, and the boy next to her is.
That's my son. He's in 9th grade. Sarah stared at the photo intently and exclaimed with surprise.
Hold on. That uniform. It's from that prestigious school, isn't it?
You know it well. Yes, he wore it since he came straight from practice that day.
Oh, isn't that the school our son didn't get into?
Stop.
Did your kid take entrance exams for that school?
Well, yes, he did.
Judging from her reaction, it seemed their son hadn't been accepted. Our son started there from elementary school, so it's been an easy path through. He wants to go to a different college, though. so he has to study hard.
Since elementary school?
Yes, my husband went there from elementary school, too, so he was determined to help our son get in. The admissions process was intense, even for us as parents.
I see.
Both of their expressions grew tense. Since they seemed familiar with private boys' school uniforms, it was likely their son had taken entrance exams as well. He might have even enrolled in a private middle school somewhere.
By the way, what about Emma?
Sarah asked, probing further. Emma started at St. Paul's School from elementary school.
That's prestigious too.
Yes, both of my kids are outstanding, almost to the point where it's hard to believe they are mine. They are also considerate and wonderful people. They even planned this surprise birthday dinner for me. I was thrilled. In the photo, the four of us are smiling happily, with a birthday plate in front of me that says, "Happy birthday, Mom." They celebrate my birthday every year.
What a lovely family.
Despite her compliment, Sarah's smile twisted slightly.
I thought you'd end up miserable after the divorce.
It's been years since then. I'm not the type to wallow in misery. As I responded firmly, Bob bit his lip. He was probably frustrated that the woman he left was now living a happier and better life than he was.
But our son is amazing too. Like I mentioned, he's attending Yale.
He's a kind, thoughtful kid, too. He even got me a bottle of wine recently. Isn't he a great son?
The two of them desperately began boasting about their son.
Emma's in college now too, right? Which school does she attend?
Harvard.
What?
Yes, Emma's at Harvard. Isn't it impressive? It's like a hawk was born from a sparrow.
Emma's at Harvard.
Yes, but she wants to study abroad, so she's planning to take a break from university. It'll be lonely to have her away from home, but studying abroad has always been her dream. Finally, the two of them fell silent. In that moment, I felt grateful for my children's achievements. I'd never pressured them to study. I simply focused on making our home a place where they, along with my husband, would feel most comfortable. The result was that they grew into kind, self-motivated, and remarkable individuals.
Well, it was good seeing you, Catherine.
We probably won't see each other again, but take care.
Looking uncomfortable, they quickly tried to leave. Just then, a young man walking nearby called out.
Hey, isn't that Dad and Mom?
A young man pausing nearby looked at Sarah and Bob and called out to them.
Michael.
The boy Sarah called Michael was dressed far too casually for this part of town, wearing sweats and slip-on sandals. His steps made a loud slapping sound with each step. He had both hands in his pockets, chewing gum noisily. This had to be the son they'd been boasting about.
Who's she?
Michael glanced at me and jerked his chin in my direction. It was hardly the way to greet someone for the first time. Nice to meet you. I'm an acquaintance of theirs. We just ran into each other and were chatting.
I see.
Michael, that's enough. Just go on your way.
What's with that? I was just being nice by saying hi.
Michael shot a glare at Bob. Bob, perhaps used to it, didn't even flinch. I heard from your parents that you're at Yale. That's impressive. When I complimented him, Michael scoffed for some reason.
They lied to you again, right? I applied to Yale, but I didn't get in. Took a gap year and still failed, so now I'm just unemployed.
Oh, I see.
Michael, that's enough. You're embarrassing us.
Embarrassing? Seriously? I put up with all those entrance exams for you too. Got into my second choice in middle school after being yelled at every day, and not once did you look proud. Just disappointed.
Michael unleashed a torrent of resentment he'd likely kept bottled up for years.
There you go again. Everything we did was for you, and now you're wasting it all. Our efforts were a failure.
Calling it a failure is a bit harsh, isn't it? I interjected, unable to stay silent any longer. However, Michael didn't seem bothered by the harsh words.
Fine, failure it is. Since you're my parents, take responsibility for it. $500 will do for now.
Michael held out his right hand toward Bob. He was asking for money.
I just gave you an allowance recently. You need more already.
It's nowhere near enough.
Michael, stop it. You're embarrassing us more and more.
Embarrassing? Who's the real embarrassment here, you cheating couple?
What?
What?
I know all about it. I always wondered why I never visited Mom's family. When I was in high school, I looked up my family registry to check Mom's place of birth.
Michael.
I went to Mom's parents' house and learned everything. You two are seriously disgusting.
Sarah and Bob were stunned. Their faces turned pale, and their hands trembled.
Catherine.
Yes. Suddenly, Michael turned toward me.
You said you're an acquaintance of my parents, but you're actually my dad's ex-wife, right?
That's correct.
So, that makes you my aunt, doesn't it?
Yes.
I apologize on behalf of my parents.
Michael apologized to me. I'm fine. This isn't your fault, so there's no need to apologize. Michael finally turned back to Bob and Sarah and said,
Hand over some money for making me apologize.
Reluctantly, Bob took $500 in $20 bills from his wallet and handed them to Michael. Michael accepted them with a smug grin.
Thanks, cheating couple.
With those parting words, my nephew Michael walked away. Despite everything, he looked as sharp and tall as he did in the photos. Even if he wasn't academic, he seemed to have plenty of potential for other pursuits. So it was all a lie, wasn't it? My words made them flinch. You really embellished your story. Were you just trying to impress me, to make it seem like you had an outstanding son and a perfect family? They said nothing. When you saw me again, you assumed I must be worse off than you, didn't you? By flaunting your supposed happiness, you thought you could ease whatever bitterness you felt in your own lives.
That's not.
Who would have thought your lies would be exposed so soon after bragging? They both looked uncomfortable. He really is a handsome young man, though. He should try modeling. Embarrassed to be caught by someone they once looked down upon, they kept their heads lowered. Just then, my phone rang. Excuse me, hello, oh, I'm all done here, so I'll head over now. the usual cafe. Sure, I'll see you soon. It was Emma. Apparently, she got tired of waiting and ended up ordering an extra slice of cake. Sorry, but Emma's asking me to hurry over, so I'll be on my way.
All right.
As I started walking, I paused and looked back. You know, he really doesn't look like you at all, Bob. A few days after that unexpected reunion, I got a call from an unregistered number. I didn't have it saved, but the number looked familiar. Hello.
Catherine, sorry you had to see that embarrassing scene the other day.
It was Bob, as I had expected. I'd deleted his number when we divorced. It's fine. So, what's up? Why the call?
Well, you see, it turns out that Michael isn't my son after all.
So, it's finally confirmed. I felt a strange sense of relief, as something I'd suspected for 20 years was now clear.
After that day, I went home and confronted Sarah, asking if Michael was really my son.
Things had taken an interesting turn. And then,
Sarah had a DNA test done when Michael was still a little kid. She knew all along he wasn't mine, but still kept up the lie for 20 years.
I see. So, you're angry.
Yeah, I'm furious. I had to ask her repeatedly before she finally admitted it.
But even if he isn't biologically yours, you've been his father for 20 years. That time wasn't a lie. I wasn't directly involved, but that's how I felt. Bob, however, seemed to disagree.
No way. I already found it shameful that he was unemployed, and now he's not even blood related. There's no love left there.
Is that really how it works? The one I felt truly sorry for was Michael. Knowing he was born out of an affair must have been heartbreaking. But Bob didn't seem to mention him any further.
Anyway, I just wanted to say I'm sorry for what I did 20 years ago.
I was surprised by his sudden apology, but the words came to me easily. Yes, it hurt back then, but thanks to that divorce, I met my current husband and was blessed with 2 wonderful children. I couldn't be happier. In fact, I'm grateful.
I see.
Is that all? Well, I need to go. I'm busy today. I ended the call and put my phone deep in my bag.
Hurry up, Mom.
I'm coming. It was the day before Emma's birthday, and the whole family was gathered together. I love the dress.
Does it look good?
It looks amazing. Watching Emma smile in her beautiful dress, I savored the feeling of just how fortunate I truly was.